Welcome to the Kinda Krunchy podcast, where we talk about all things health and wellness. We can't wait for you to hear today's episode, so let's get to it.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Kinda Krunchy. We are so glad you're here. My name is Jensen.
I'm Rachel.
And this episode is going to be cozy winter, stay inside, all the grab a cup of coffee type of vibes you could want. So so if you're sitting here, I'm hoping you're in a blanket. I'm hoping you have a warm drink, because Rachel and I have been reflecting that I feel like we should just do an episode on all the ways to just embrace winter, because at least for both of us right now, it is very cold outside. There's lots of snow, which is beautiful, which have their pros and cons. But we're just going to talk about all the fun things to do in the winter, to embrace your health in the winter, and just share some things we've been up to. But we'll first start with some life updates. So Rachel, tell us all the things, fill in the people.
Yeah, I've kind of had a low-key week, which is nice because January's been really busy for me so far. I am just feeling icky this week. I'm in the week before my period, that luteal phase, and I just you just feel and it's always such a strong drop off because you're ovulating and then you go into that luteal phase, and when you're ovulating you're glowing and feeling great, and then it's you slip into the luteal phase and I feel like you get random pimples and you just your skin becomes lackluster and you're bloated. And yeah, I am thankful that I know about my cycle because it makes me have perspective on it, that oh no, I don't just hate myself. It's just the week before my period. So that's helpful to just have that perspective of just not my week this week. But aside from that, I've had a good week. I went to breakfast with a friend and we were supposed to get coffee, and then there was a lot of snow this week happening. And so some of the coffee shops were opening late or closed. So we ended up changing our location, and Punxsutawney doesn't have a whole lot of coffee shops, and we were going early morning. So we were let's just go get breakfast instead. And I never go and get breakfast. I always am let's go to a coffee shop. And you know what? I've decided that's the new move because it was just a wonderful time. Breakfast is so cheap compared to going out for other meals. I got eggs, bacon, hash browns, toast, the whole thing. And it was $8 for this big plate of food. It filled me up literally till dinner time. I just had a little snack in between, and it was just nice and fresh, and the waitress was so pleasant, and it was all the old guys were in there. It was 7 a.m. and it was just a good vibe. I told Logan, we need to go to breakfast more. We've been striking out at restaurants that we've gone to recently, having really bad experiences where the food's either burnt or raw or just really bad service, and we're we are done going out to eat. We've just been having the worst experiences randomly. And so I was maybe we need to just try going for breakfast instead of dinner. So
breakfast is the move to go out for. One, I love making breakfast at home, but actually just reflecting on what just happened a few minutes ago, we made bacon this morning, and it is such a mess to clean up. It's just kind of nice when you go out to breakfast and they just bring you your eggs and toast and hash browns and bacon. And again, it's more affordable. I don't know if Lancaster prices are as cheap as Punxsutawney prices. Let me ask, were you at Phil's?
Yes, Punxsy Phil's.
If you know, you know.
I love Phil's. Logan's not a huge fan, but I love Phil's, so it's always a treat when I get to go there.
I've always had a good experience there, and yeah, they're so nice there too.
The waitresses are the ones that have been waitresses for 40 years there, so they really
forever.
Know what they're doing. They're good waitresses.
They don't write anything down. You just tell them your order and they bring it out perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I feel I'm very much one to just let's get coffee. But I think breakfast is fun too. It's just fun to also share a meal with someone, and it's not expensive.
Yeah, it was so nice to just catch up with that friend, and got breakfast out of it. And it was just a little joy in the middle of my week because I wasn't planning to get breakfast. And then I was you know what? That was so much fun. I need to go get breakfast more often.
Love that.
But that's really all. I don't have a ton of life updates. Just in the luteal phase, feeling down, and had a good breakfast date.
Love that for you.
What about you?
Okay, I have a few life updates. Well, first off, I've been using my acupressure mat more, and I'm realizing that it literally does like put me to sleep. Like I was laying on it before bed the one night and it like makes me knock out and it's so relaxing. I feel like I got it and I used it a lot and then I was like, I don't know, life happens and I wasn't using it as
Mm-hmm.
much. But now I just like keep it out. It's kind of annoying. I wish it did like fold up better. It's always just like on our living room floor. It doesn't look the best, but I've
That's
been
pretty.
trying to.
I was just gonna say that's pretty crazy that it relaxes you because you'd think it'd be like almost painful, like
No, it's not pain.
acupressure.
It's not painful at all, and it's good because it just makes me. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
listening. I'm just like being, and I'm really trying to focus on like getting into like more silence and solitude. I think I shared I was
Mm.
reading The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Well, I'm still reading it, and yeah, it just talks about a lot about like just being like actually like silent and not like being surrounded by so much sound and noise. Which is one thing with the snow. I feel like it's been so like sweet because like and just like really cool. You go outside and the snow like I feel like muffles the sound,
Mm-hmm.
so it's so peaceful outside. Um, yeah, I was shoveling our driveway and I was talking to the neighbor and she was like, "It's just so peaceful right now." I'm like, "It is. I love this."
Yeah, the one day they called off school here and they just did not plow like where I live. And
Mm-hmm.
it was so nice. I took my dog for a walk and like we're down in a valley and then there's like all these hills with like pine
Mm-hmm.
trees up on them. And I was like, I texted Logan, I was like, it's so pretty out. I'm seriously like on the verge of tears, which the luteal phase might be playing into that
Mm-hmm.
also. Um, but it was just like even the roads were snow covered and it was so quiet and they were big pretty flakes and it was like
Mm-hmm.
sitting so pretty and I was like this just like looks like a puzzle, you know. It was just so peaceful. I didn't listen to a podcast or anything. I was just like present.
We got home last night. We went to dinner at Logan's parents and came home, got home at like 9:30 ish, and
Mm-hmm.
we came up the stairs and Logan was like, "Turn off all the lights," and I was like, "Are you gonna scare me?" Because that's usually what happens. And I'm like, "Why are you telling me to turn off all the lights? He's just look how light it is outside." And
Mm,
the way that the snow was reflecting, and I don't know if it was the way the moon was, but it literally felt like it was light outside. It was so cool. It was just like very like surreal.
that's really neat.
Um, some more life updates. I had shared that I had gotten a KitchenAid mixer for Christmas. Hadn't used it yet. Got it out this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like mind blown that I don't have to like. I just throw the things in the bowl and it mixes them. Like I know that sounds like yeah, Jensen, of course that's what it does. But when you've only ever used a hand mixer for your whole life, I'm just like, this is crazy. And I've heard it's amazing for shredding meat. And there's just so many add-ons you
Mm-hmm.
can buy. I'm just like, where have you been all my life?
Do you
So
have like the little plastic guard that goes on top of the bowl for when you're mixing? Like it's like a
yes.
cover. I don't
Yes.
have one, and that's my biggest gripe. I need to just buy one because like the mixing's so intense. I
Yeah.
always have to put like a dishcloth over it because I'm afraid
Oh,
it's gonna like it will like
splatter.
yeah, splatter everywhere. So I really need to get that. It's like a small thing that would make my life better because I use my KitchenAid all the time. I love it.
What are your favorite things to use it for?
Just anything I'm mixing, like especially when I'm making cookies or anything, like to
Hmm.
cream like butter and sugar
Yes. Yep.
together.
That's what I
Um,
made.
but also it just like works so good for like whipping heavy cream or anything like
Mm.
that. Um, I have like the dough hook attachment too, so every
Yep.
once in a
Same.
while for certain recipes I'll use that if I don't do it by hand. But I really want to get the pasta attachments for it,
Same.
like the meat
Yes.
grinder, all of those.
Mhm.
I don't have those. My parents have a pasta one and like I borrow it all the time. I love it.
Well, I like got whenever I got my mixer, it comes with like a piece of paper that has all the attachments you can get,
Mhm.
and there's like 30 of them. I was like,
They're
who
kind of
knew?
expensive. They're like
Yeah.
$100 each too. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, this is over my lifetime.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, oh, maybe I'll get like one a year, sort of thing, and just accumulate them.
That's awesome though. That's exciting.
Yeah, so that has been a great new addition. Other news, which this is very out of nowhere. I've decided I'm going to learn to play the piano.
Oh, how fun.
So Elena's friend was over at her parents' house. We were over there, and he was saying that he taught himself piano like just on like the keyboard
Hmm.
app on his phone, and like just kind of learned from there, and like then like actually got a real keyboard, but was just like messing around on his phone. So then I like got the app. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of fun, and I have been just like playing it on my phone and I like learn songs and I'll be like, Logan, I
Oh.
learned a new song today and I'm like playing it on the little keyboard on my phone. Um, but I'm like, I actually need a real keyboard because now I'm like driven. I'm like, I am going to be a
Mhm.
pianist by the end of the year. I took lessons
It'll
And
come
like,
back easy then if
I
you
know.
took lessons
Well,
before.
and I was also like, oh my gosh, I forgot how to read music. And then I was like, then I looked at like what the different like letters are and like notes are, and I was like, oh, I remember this. Like I had to like kind of retrain my brain, but I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like the spaces spell face, and like things that I like knew when I played.
Yes.
I played the piano when I was in like elementary school, and then
You
multiple
took
music
private
instruments.
lessons for it?
I did, yes. There was
Okay.
someone in my family was very good at piano, and she gave me lessons.
Awesome.
And then I was like, two reasons I got too cool for it. I was like, this is lame. I was like 9 or 10. I was like, I don't want to be playing piano, and I just was so busy with sports. It was just like really annoying to have to add in like another lesson of something each week. But it's a big regret of mine because I wish I would have just stuck with it. So I'm really excited. I'm getting a keyboard. Logan's cousins have an extra one that they're loaning me, which is super
That's
nice
awesome.
because it's also in a month from now I could be like, I'm not learning the piano, so I don't want to like spend money on
Uh-huh.
a piano. um but I'm like really excited. It's like I feel like it's going to be like my new hobby of 2024, and my word of the year has been rest. So what better way to just rest at home than playing a
Yes.
piano?
Music is really something I will put my kids in music lessons. Like my parents made us try one sport and do it for like an entire season. And then they told us we had to pick one instrument and that we had to do it for a year at least. And
Hmm.
like I didn't want to, but I'm so thankful they did. And I randomly just like picked violin. I don't even know where that idea came from because I was like 7 or 8. And then I stayed in it like my whole life.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. I think it's like it's so good for your brain. I'll probably honestly, if I can, I'll teach my kids myself until they get to
Yeah.
like a certain level where I'm not good enough to teach them either piano or any string instrument. I
Hmm.
could probably teach them. Um because it's just so like it engages your brain so much. It helps like you calm down and everything. I feel like when I play music, like I lose track of time and it's one of the few
Yeah.
things. Like it just is so for your restful year, I feel like that's a great thing. That'll be so much fun too. Like it feels like such an accomplishment when you like try to learn a new song and then you get it and then you like play it with no airs or whatever. Like that's like I will replay the same song over and over until I do it like perfectly with like the way
Hmm.
I want to like crescendo and
Yes.
decrescendo and like everything's perfect about it. And it's like such a challenge but also so fun. So I'm so excited. Maybe we'll start the kind of crunchy piano duet once you
Hey, you never
I'm
know.
not an expert, but
Well, it's funny. I was so what I was doing. This is literally what I was doing. I would Google like a song, and it would come up like only like the first two lines because then you have to pay for the music. But I'd find them on like Google Image, and then I would like go between like I'd have that open, and then I'd go to my piano, and like so I had to memorize it. So I was like, okay, CGGAE, and then I'd like okay, and I'd be like, what's the next line? And then I was like, and I had to keep adding on them.
mhm.
And I was memorizing so much. I was like, this, which is funny. We just did our episode on brain health. I feel like I'm using my brain a lot, and you have to think about the keys
Mhm.
and so many things. So, yeah, I'm a pianist, is what I've decided. So, hopefully, this isn't just a phase, but I'm like actually really excited. So, we'll see.
How fun.
Okay, one more life update.
Yes.
I told you guys, I don't know if it was the last episode or the episode before, that Logan and I were watching the show called Band of Brothers on Netflix. It's
Mhm.
about World War II. Now I'm like super into World War II. I just keep watching different documentaries on it. I there's so many on Netflix, and they're so interesting.
I
I'm
didn't
not
peg
saying
you as a World War II girl.
nope, didn't think I was until like a week ago. Um, I'm also just like super fascinated. Also, like again, I think I said this before, like Holocaust. I've always found that
hmm
super interesting, and I went to the museum in DC. Have you ever been to that?
Yes. Yeah. It's very sombering.
Sombering. And when I was abroad, I went to actually Dachau was one of the work
Oh,
camps in
wow.
Germany, which was also like
hmm
very. It made it very real. Obviously, you know it's real, but it made it very real. But it's just. I know it's called World War II, and people are probably like, Jensen, of course it was all across the world, but like I feel like I just associated it with like Germany. Like I don't know why. You think like World War II, but like
hmm
it was in Japan, it was in Africa, and like so many people fought in
It
it and
was the
died. And
World War.
it was literally the World War. And just hearing like, just I don't know. I've just been fascinated by it. And there's all these documentaries on Netflix, so I just keep watching them while I work, and I feel like I'm learning too, which is good. I'm
That's
like, this
awesome.
this is stuff I probably did learn, but like Oh, and I can't
You
remember how
just
big.
forget it. Yeah.
You do. You do. I saw this thing. I reshared it on my Instagram. So funny. Like the things like you learn in high school that like matter but don't matter. It was like something about, oh, I don't know how to do my taxes, but did you know the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell? And it's like all the things you learn in high school that like, yeah. Anyways, I could go off on it. But I am loving all this learning I've been doing. So, and it's all part of like I guess this will transition into our episode of just like, we're cozying, we're staying at home, we're watching
Yes.
TV, we're reading a good book.
I have to ask you, so we just watched Oppenheimer last night. Did you watch it?
Oh, no, is that about World War II?
It's about them building the first atomic bomb that was used in World War
Yes,
II.
I've just watched an episode that talked about the atomic bomb. Okay, now I need to see this movie.
Yeah, and so it was, I mean, it was a really popular movie this year. It's like 3 hours long, legitimately. So it's
That's what I
very
heard.
long. It was good. Like it kept my interest considering, and like they just cast it so well, like the actors and everything. There's a lot of big names in it, actually. Um, I enjoyed it, and I liked, you'll just have to watch it, but I liked how they addressed like, the perspective they had on it and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I get real weird with like war and war related films and stuff. I can't, documentaries about what really happened is one thing, but like the movies where it's like the retelling of a story from war
Mm-hmm.
that there's like killing and graphic
Yeah.
stuff, it just bothers me a lot. And I can't do it. Like I literally get sick to my stomach. It's just too, I don't know. So yeah, I'm really weird with like war stuff, but literally when you're saying that, it's about like them creating the first atomic bomb. So
Okay. Well,
also,
I.
fun fact, I was telling Logan last night, my grandma's sister, so it'd be my great aunt,
Mm-hmm.
worked on like the project that Oppenheimer's about, the Manhattan Project. She was one of the
What?
women. There were only few women because it was like back in like, I don't know, the 40s or
40s.
something.
Yeah.
So there weren't a lot of women scientists, but she was very smart. She worked on it. So I was like to Logan, brains run in the family.
I love that. Yeah, and also I just sometimes like reflect, and it wasn't that long ago. Like it was less than 100 years ago, and like the terrible things that happened. I'm like, this was not that long ago, and like there's people
Yes.
alive that have been like experienced it, which is just crazy.
Yeah, we can't get started on that. That's a whole different podcast.
No,
I'm not getting into views on war and
no.
politics, but
Well,
it's interesting to learn about. Yes.
yeah. Well, one last thing I'll say is I don't even like blood, so I have to like look away half the time.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm like I can't even look at this. So that's all I have. I just those are what's been happening. So we can get into our episode.
Yeah, this is just a fun episode today. Really like beating the winter blues and embracing winter. Just like fun chats about some of the ways we do that or ideas we have for how you can do that. Because I feel like now is when people really start to get in the slump because it's like we get past Christmas, past New Year's, and you get like second, third week of January, and you're like, oh, it's really winter. Like there's snow, there's ice, it's cold. Like just, you're like, there's not really anything to look forward to. There's Valentine's Day coming up, like Super Bowl, Groundhog's Day, but none of them are like huge. You're like, I got till April till the weather might break. Sometimes March, but we have an
Sometimes
early Easter this year.
we do.
Yeah, in March, which is like really early for Easter. So, I mean, maybe that's a little more to look forward to. But yeah, like you said, it seems like the weather goes like till May now.
Well, it'll be like at 80 degrees one day in March, and then it'll be like 40 degrees
Oh,
today in
yeah.
May, and you're just like, I can't. And then it's like, what clothes do I keep out? Do I keep my winter
Right?
coat? Do I have like my
It's
shorts?
so
I don't know.
unpredictable.
Yeah.
But do you want to get into some of our ideas for
Yeah.
embracing winter?
Do we want to talk about just like maybe some like nourishing foods and things we've just been cooking at home?
Yeah, kind of like the health perspective, and then maybe
Yeah.
do more like fun lifestyle things.
Yeah. We'll just
Okay.
go with it.
Perfect.
I feel like one of my goals this year was to make more foods at home and just like trying new recipes was the thing. And I've been really trying to add like in very like warm, nourishing recipes that just sound good because it's funny how like Rachel, you've always really ate seasonally and you've really embraced that. And for me, I was always just like, you can eat a salad anytime of year, you can have a smoothie anytime, you can have soup. I just was always just like I had my mind set on like the things I ate and I didn't think about how the seasons played into it. But like I try to have like raw carrot salads. That sounds terrible to me right now. I don't want a salad. I don't
Right?
want a smoothie. I don't want an
Right?
acai bowl. Like, no, that sounds terrible. But do I want to make like a nourishing soup?
And
Absolutely. So
bread.
I just made, not to pat myself on the back, I got whole wheat flour instead of white flour because I was at the store and all they had was the bleached white flour, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I just seeing the word bleach just doesn't make me want to buy it. So I made my normal bread with whole wheat flour, and it's like had just such a different flavor, and it was so dense and good. And I made it yesterday, and I had a piece
Ooh.
right out of the oven. So yes, making breads. I did a roast for the first time, which
I
uh,
love roast. Did you do it in the oven or a crock pot or how?
crock pot all day, slow cook.
Yeah.
It was Logan was just like it's so flavorful with like the broth, and I use like fresh rosemary, and I think like that's the thing where it's like adding in like thyme and garlic, like there's a lot of herbs that you can incorporate that are really like good for immune system. A few would
Mm-hmm.
be garlic, ginger, oregano, thyme, turmeric. um, but there's just so many ways you can add these things into what you're cooking that have like good immune benefits, and they also make your food taste so much more flavorful.
Yeah, for sure. I'm all about like seasonal cozy things. Like I don't want to be having salads and smoothies all the time in the winter. I'm like, I want soup. I want something warm and nourishing. We do a lot of like roasts and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I love like a chicken noodle soup, any type of soup, any type of roast in the winter. I love to do a pot pie every once in a while because it's
Ooh.
really like I make my own crust for it. I actually
Mhm.
make tallow pie crust, which turns out
Oh.
so good and flaky. um and then like you have the chicken and it's like creamy with all the vegetables. And also like I love to bake in the winter, and these aren't like healthy things necessarily, but just cozy things like soft pretzels and brownies to me are just like winter
Mhm.
things. But definitely a lot of bone broths, a lot of cocoa and teas, just like cozy warm nourishing foods. I made a roast this week too, and it was a
Ooh.
venison roast, which I've never done.
Oh.
So from the deer that
Of
Logan got this
course.
year that we
Yes.
processed. And my dad's always not liked doing venison roast because he says they're a little gamey tasting or tough. Well, so I did mine. I always do, Logan likes them. This is how his mom always did them. In like a Dutch oven, in the oven on like 275, and you cook it like 8 hours. So it's equivalent to
Okay.
doing it in a crock pot. You just have to be home all day because like your your oven's running.
Mhm.
But I just put like carrots and potatoes and celery and onion and garlic and all kinds of herbs in there. And then I put a beef bone in with it. Um,
Oh.
to make like bone broth since it was going to be cooking all day, and poured a little bone broth in there too. And I think that helped so much with the flavor. And it was just like it pulled apart, which isn't how venison
Yes.
normally is. It's
Yeah.
normally tough. So I was
Mhm.
super proud because I was like, oh my gosh, that turned out so good. And like his whole deer, all the meat we got from it was like the cost of his hunting license, like $30.
Wow.
So we have like multiple roasts we kept from it. And it's like, it's just almost like free meat. You know what I mean? There was
Yeah.
just the labor of like getting the deer, but it feels so good to be able to like eat it and like have those veggies that were from our garden this year and like the beef bone from our cow. It was just like a cozy meal. And of course, I made bread with it because
Of
I just
course.
love bread with butter this time of year. I feel like it's like
Same.
bulking season on cozy foods. Like everybody's
Like,
like, how do I get my bikini body? And I'm like, no, this is like comfort food bulking season.
well, we need to stay warm somehow. It's literally
Right?
like,
A little extra
and
fat to keep us warm in the winter.
it was so funny. I taught Pure Barre this morning, and we're having some heat issues at the studio, and it was 50 degrees, and I was like,
Brr.
okay. I'm like, I need to get warm soon. But yeah, and after that, it was like immediately I wanted a warm drink, and it's like every day, it's
Yes.
like I don't crave like anything cold. Getting back in my like warm lemon water. I recently,
Mm-hmm.
I might have shared this. Sometimes I like forget what I like actually share, but I got a dirty chai or I got a chai tea concentrate at Trader
Mm-hmm.
Joe's last time I was there. So I've been like adding that in the mornings, and I'll do like a raw milk latte, but it'll make it like a dirty chai latte.
Mm.
And I feel like the spices of that are just so cozy. Um, I recently made, I shared this on the podcast, but I made ground beef gnocchi, and it was this whole thing you made on the stove with like tomatoes and
Yes, it looked delicious.
heavy cream and broth, and it was so good. And I love recipes that are just one pot. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
mind doing multiple things, but I'm like, if I can have one dish to clean up, that is that is goals. So, um,
I'm big on certain supplements in the winter. I'm not like a huge I take the same supplements every day or like survive off supplements person because I just think it's better to try to get it from food and not like I Wellness Mama has always said like her one principle is she doesn't do the same thing every single day, like diet
Yeah.
wise or supplement wise for diversity. And like I've always loved that. I just think it's
Mhm.
like such a good perspective to have because your body needs diversity.
Mhm.
Even though I love my routine. So some of the
Mhm.
supplements I am big on in the winter is vitamin D, especially where we live. Like we're not getting a lot of it from the
Yeah.
sun. Um, and honestly, like if you're thinking about taking vitamin D, definitely look into the type you're taking. I'll link the one I have. It's like a tincture. So it's vitamin D and I think it's with like olive oil almost. It tastes really
Mhm.
gross, but it's a dropper and you drop it on your tongue, but it's more absorbable by the body. I think it's D3. Um, and then greens, I do like once, twice a week take like drink greens.
Mhm.
Just because in the winter, I feel like I'm not getting as much diversity of produce. Now,
Mhm.
in the summer, like when it's all fresh and everything here, I'm getting a lot of it. And there are certain things I've frozen or canned from the garden we're still
Mhm.
eating. But like in the summer, I'm eating a lot of salads packed full of these veggies.
Yep.
In the winter, it's more of those root veggies. So like
Mhm.
potatoes, carrots, things like that. And so I'm
Mhm.
not getting as much diversity. So I do try to incorporate greens a little more frequently in the winter.
It's so funny you said about supplementing vitamin D. I just got a bunch of blood work done, and of course, I was still fine for vitamin D, but the doctor I'm working with is more instead of just being like, yes, these are normal, but like what's optimal, especially for
Mm-hmm.
fertility. And she was like, your vitamin D is low. You need to supplement with it. I'm like, okay, which makes sense. It's winter. I'm sure everyone's vitamin D is low if they would go get blood work done, unless you are already supplementing. But it's like the vitamin D with like K2. But here's what she told me, which is funny. You said yours is with olive oil. She's like, you should take it with like a little wad of coconut oil or with like olive oil
Yes.
because you need the fat to absorb it, which I was like,
Because it's fat soluble, yeah.
who knew? Like I would have just taken it as normal. So that's super interesting. I would say, kind of going off that, different ways that you can just like nourish yourself. Um, I want to buy this, and I know I'm pretty sure you got it, Rachel. You have your red light therapy lamp.
Yeah, it's like a panel of
Panel,
red
yeah,
light.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Which I mean, I feel like that's good all year round, but I feel like specifically in the winter, like especially in the
Oh
morning,
yeah.
to get that in your eyes. Which yours was not super expensive. Like there are ones that are very expensive,
Mhm.
but like just kind of like everything. Like I would always recommend, like if you're gonna purchase like a product like that, like an acupressure mat or something, I would go with like a read reviews, but go with a lesser end one. And then if you love it and you feel like it's great, you can always like upgrade it. But
Mhm.
like again, this is where the Krunchy world can get super expensive and you don't have to spend a ton of money to be able to get the benefits you're looking for.
On that note, I'll say like one of the things that I think can be beneficial for health and like warding off those winter blues in the winter is embracing slow mornings if you are able to.
Yes.
I feel like well your body naturally craves and needs more sleep like in the
Mm-hmm.
winter. It's natural for us, but I think I get like super lazy with being like the last thing I want to do is my alarm goes off at 6 and go outside into my cold car and like go to the gym and work out. So really just like having perspective of okay, maybe every season my routine's not going to look the same. And so for me, like one of the things I'm trying to do, and I've done this in the past and I'm just like behind this year on doing this. I think it's because my January's just been chaotic so far. Um is try to like still wake up at my normal time to keep my sleep routine, but ease into that morning. So instead of like waking up and being like, I have to go to the gym because I'm just like unmotivated to get out of my warm bed and do that, be like, okay, I'm going to wake up and have a cup of tea and maybe like read or clock in for a few hours and then go to the gym later. And I know everybody doesn't have that flexibility because they don't work from home, but maybe just like being like I don't know, being willing to change up whatever routine you have and maybe like
Mm-hmm.
move the time you work out or maybe change how you're working out. It can be like movement is so important. And in the winter, sometimes it's so hard because it's just like cold and like you just don't want to go to the gym or whatever. Like, just start doing like yoga or stretching at home or like a YouTube video of like gentle movement, just something to move your body, but really embracing and just like being okay with slowing down and like changing that routine up.
Going off that, I feel like the snow almost forces us to slow down sometimes. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
roads are bad. If anyone knows me, they know my driveway, and if they've ever come to my house in the winter, good luck getting up it. But this whole week I've had to cancel. I was supposed to have pelvic floor therapy Tuesday and Friday. Was supposed to be Tuesday. We got the snow, had to cancel. Supposed to be Friday, got more snow, had to cancel.
Jensen, I had an appointment on Tuesday. I rescheduled for Friday and then had to cancel again. And I was like, I'm so sorry. So it's
It literally
next
means, yeah,
Tuesday now. And I was like, I swear I will
same.
come. It's supposed to be rain and warm.
Yeah, so I felt bad. I was like, the same guy answered. I was like, look, same situation as Tuesday. I'm
Right?
not getting at my driveway. But so many things got canceled this week, and it was also just so nice. Like, I was telling Rachel,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is like my inner hibernation, which, if anyone knows me, I'm go, go, go all the time. And I feel like this January has just been so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I still get up and I still do go to the gym twice a week. And then I teach Pure Barre once or twice a week. But it was this Friday, it was snowing. And I was like, I was supposed to go to Pure Barre. And I was like, the weather's not looking great. And just, it was so nice to just get up with Logan. Like, it was like we actually like got up at the same time. And
Aw.
just to go right away, have some breakfast, have
Ease
some
in.
coffee,
Yeah.
and just like put on my fuzzy socks and just get to go to the couch and start my work day. And I think sometimes we put pressure on ourselves that we have to do certain things. Like, I need to be disciplined. I need to do this. And it's like, we're not robots. We're not machines. We're human beings that go through seasons, that go through times where like we need more rest. We need more sleep. We need to just embrace it instead of trying to like push through it. Um, but kind of, when you were saying about like not wanting to go to the gym and like just kind of how exercise can look different. Um, if any of you guys get snow, I was telling to Rachel, shoveling has been my exercise this week. I mean, I've
Mm-hmm.
also worked out a little, but like
Same.
it's been, and it's like, honestly, we have our hill, so I'm going up and down our hill. The snow's heavy, so I'm like, I'm having to
Mm-hmm.
use my whole body, and you're getting so much fresh air and vitamin D. Like, that is the one thing in the winter we don't get outside enough. Even if I tell myself I'm going to go for a daily walk, I sometimes end up failing because I just hate the cold. But I feel like having to shovel, having to like get outside and do like actual work around the house, like, has been one great exercise, but just great to like be outside.
Yeah, I second that. Also, like if you're really like bundled up, it's almost like if you went to the gym with like multiple layers on to really try to like get a sweat on doing your
Yeah.
cardio. But I just love it. I'm really big on like practical functional movement
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
exercise. And so again, it's like I'm doing something around the house that literally needs done. And
Hmm.
it's my exercise. And then I'm not like, oh, I have to drive to the gym and do this.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's just like actually practical. Cause Logan's always like, why are you shoveling? Like, I will do it. I will take care of it. And I'm like,
Same.
no, like, I want the exercise. Please let me shovel. And he's like, I feel bad. Like, if people see you out doing it, like,
That's what Logan
and
says
I'm
too.
like,
He's like,
no, it's okay. I'm a strong, independent woman. It's
yeah.
okay.
I told Logan, I was like, yeah, I was talking to the neighbor when I was shoveling. He's like, oh, now the neighbors think that I don't. And I was like, no, I literally enjoy it. Like I told you, I'm going out. I don't mind doing this. We even have a snowblower, but I was like, honestly, it's not that bad enough that I can't shovel it. So, but another thing that's been not terribly much of a workout, but just having to get outside every day is the chickens.
Oh,
Chicken.
yeah.
I don't know how they're alive. It's so cold. They stay in their little coop all day, but they don't lay any eggs right now because they're not
Hmm.
getting sunlight. But I have to go down every day because their water freezes in like an hour. So like I literally take their water out, dump out a block of ice, and pour more water in.
I saw someone,
Um,
wait, I just saw this on TikTok. Someone ran an extension cord to their chicken coop, okay, and plugged in a crock pot on low of water, and the chickens will still drink it because it's warm, but like it doesn't freeze then. And I was like, that's such a good idea.
that's so smart, and this is why I regret putting our coop at the end of our yard that would need 6 extension
Yes, it's
cords.
very far away.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine in the summer, but the winter, it's been a little rough. So that's been, it was one of those things where I'm like, chickens were so much fun when it was warm out.
Right.
The excitement of getting the eggs, now I'm just like, gotta bundle up. And it's interesting, we did get a lot of snow because I go down and I'm like, wow, we really did actually get a lot.
Yeah, I've been wearing my big winter boots to like do stuff, and
Same,
I'm like, okay, this is how I like winter though with the snow.
same,
It's supposed to
same.
rain this week, and I feel like it's just gonna
Ew.
like make it all icky and miserable. I've been
Yeah.
enjoying the snow.
Yeah, if I'm like it's gonna be cold, I'd rather it be like 20 and snowing than 40 and raining. Like it's cold no matter
Yes,
what.
exactly. I only have a couple more things health wise and then like some fun lifestyle ones. The other two things I had on here were just using the sauna in the winter. I actually need to
Mm,
go soon. Um, it's just like it's so good for your body. It gives you like that moist heat, depending
mm-hmm,
on what type of sauna you're using, whether you're using a steam one or a dry one. But it's just like good for your health in general. It helps your body kind of like sweat and detox. The one I use is infrared, so you're getting that like therapy from the infrared as well. And then the other thing is magnesium lotion or baths. I just feel like, again, with like supplement stuff, we're all a little magnesium deficient. I know it's like trendy to use magnesium. There's different types, so make sure you're taking like the right one for what you need. I'm a big
mm-hmm,
proponent of magnesium lotion. I will link the one I use. But also there's like bath like salts that dissolve, and taking a bath is such a warm cozy winter thing to do.
mm-hmm,
And then like if you add in some magnesium flakes, it just helps you kind of like remineralize and
mm-hmm.
can be really calming for you too, and help you sleep. A warm bath with
Yes.
magnesium in it before bed on a cold winter night with like a low
Oh,
light candle,
oh,
that's just going to give you cozy vibes.
that sounds amazing. I'll just say my last thing would be is obviously we're big proponents of tallow. We've sold our tallow. We
Oh
still have more
yes.
tallow. We still have more if anyone wants it, especially because your skin is probably really dry right now.
Yes.
But it is amazing with keeping skin. My skin, I feel like this is the first winter my skin has not been super dry. It still does get dry because we're
Mm-hmm.
human, but I feel like it's been a great addition to my routine. I use it on my hands and my face, and like
Same.
my skin is usually again way more dry, so just making sure that however you're nourishing your skin, just making sure to get some sort of moisturizer on it, because when you walk outside that cold wind, it dries you up real quick.
That's a great tip. That's going to segue into one of my tips, lifestyle
Oh.
ways to maybe like ward off those winter blues and just make winter a little better. So I've been lathering on the tallow as well. I normally get the worst dry, cracked skin. My skin's
Mhm.
just so sensitive. And I always like, I do not go out without gloves. Like I try everything. So I still have some cracking and dryness just because I always do. You know, my best way to ward that off? A trip to Florida in the winter. Just a few days helps to like get sun in me, get a different environment, some more humidity, and my skin just like thrives from it. And I mean, I know that's not realistic for everyone, but if you can plan a trip in the winter, like I highly recommend. We have been the past few years trying to go somewhere warm. It's normally ends up being Florida, just even if it's like 3 4 days, a long weekend, just to like get some sun, which I'm thankful because Florida was cold when we had this cold spell, and we're going to go here in a few weeks and it's supposed to warm up again.
Mhm.
But it just helps, like, you get some sunshine, you get a little different environment, it kind of lifts spirits. We always try to go like beginning mid-February, and that's just like the perfect time, I feel
Mhm.
like, because it's like right when you start to get in that
Mhm.
winter depression, and then it like lifts you up and you're like, okay, I got a little refresh. I can make it now till like the end of winter.
I'm kind of regretting Logan has a conference in Orlando in February, and
Oh.
yeah, February is a crazy month for us, and we have like our youth retreat that next weekend. I've actually now have a doctor's appointment that when he's gone,
Mm-hmm.
but I was originally going to go with him. It would have just been like I kind of would have been just on my own, which would have been fine. I would have just been at the pool or like doing whatever, but I was like, if we're gonna go, I want to like actually go and we can like
Yeah.
spend time together. But now I'm like, oh, that sunshine would feel really nice. So I'm like, oh, regretting it a little bit, but it's only like 2 or 3 days. But I love that for you, and I can't wait for you to just get all that vitamin D and yeah, fight off the Pennsylvania cold.
Yeah. Yeah. Other like I think winter, like embracing it, is really just finding the joy in like small little things, the cozy
Yes.
things. So like reading or doing a puzzle, like just having a
Yes.
puzzle on the kitchen table, and just like everybody kind of doing it here and there in the evenings or whenever, playing like Scrabble or cards with your
Yes.
family, just things that you
Yes.
normally don't slow down and take time to do when it's summer. I feel like we're so like, oh, I have to do the garden, I have to get out, I have to do this. I'm like, people are out golfing or doing activities. And so you just don't slow down and do those things that you're like, well, I shouldn't waste my time on this. But it's really like good for the soul to do those things, and like great time with your family to do something like
Mhm.
play Scrabble or a card game or
Yeah.
a board game or puzzle.
Yeah, and just like going off of like just things you can do at home, like if there's a time to like try baking or try new recipes, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe this recipe takes like 4 or 5 hours to make these like homemade cinnamon rolls. Well, it's like now's the time to do it. Like I feel like now is such a good time to experiment with things because you're home and you have the time where you're not rushing all over the place. Taking up a new hobby. Maybe you learn something like you're I know you're doing a lot of knitting. I'm maybe learning the piano. Like all
Mm-hmm.
these things that like yeah, you can just do at home and just like looking at them as like good things, not like, oh, I'm stuck at home, I have to do this. Obviously, like, we would recommend reading or other things, but like start a new Netflix show, do a movie marathon, like have fun with like staying warm and at home and like give yourself grace to just like say no to things. Like
Mm-hmm.
there, and kind of crunchy people, you'd be very proud of me. You've probably heard me say how I'm terrible at saying no. And I feel like we have like some like optional events in January that we're saying no to. And I'm really glad.
Good
And I feel
job,
like
Jensen.
thank you. Logan said to me, he's like, are we going to that? And I'm like, do you want to? He's like, I'm like, then let's not. Let's not. Let's stay at home together. So yeah, so I feel like I'm trying to just like embrace the no. And I feel like, yeah, again, the weather's made me say no a lot, which has been good. Um, but just leaning into like wearing my pajamas, putting on fuzzy socks, and just like
Yes.
curling up on the couch with a blanket.
Exactly. And you were saying about like watching Netflix or whatever. I love in January like to watch documentaries to learn new
Yes.
things. Like you were saying about the World War. We also do a lot more movie watching. So like movie nights. And just
Mm-hmm.
the other night, I made popcorn. And this is something I love in the winter is I make popcorn stovetop. We haven't had a microwave
Mm-hmm.
since we moved into our new house. It's actually so easy, guys. If you've never made popcorn on the stovetop, and it just is like fun, you just put a little bit of, I used olive oil. You could use tallow, you could use coconut oil, whatever you want in a pan, literally just a little bit. Just cover the bottom of the pan with some popcorn kernels. And then you just turn the heat on and you give it like a little shake every once in a while. And once you hear it start popping, you just kind of like shake it over the heat of your stove and it just pops into popcorn. You dump it in a bowl, melt some butter, pour it over with salt, and it's like fresh homemade popcorn without all the chemicals of like microwave popcorn. And so it just like makes it a little more fun. I try to like make simple mundane things a little more like cozy or fun to make them special for winter.
Yeah, like make it an experience. Like we're not just putting popcorn in
Exactly.
the microwave. We're gonna like actually do the process on the stove.
And like lighting a candle in the evenings, just that low light is super cozy. Another thing we love, this is so